Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. There are growing concerns in Israel that for the third time the Israeli genocide forces enter Jabalia. They are facing the most losses from all previous invasions in Jabalia. The third invasion, similar to many other multiple invasions in other parts of Gaza, prove the massive failure when it comes to Israel in its military genocidal campaign in Gaza. They invaded areas like Khan Yunis and other parts of Gaza multiple times, only to withdraw at the end without achieving any results when it comes to the Palestinian resistance. Israel's main declared objective is to obliterate the Hamas, to demolish the Hamas, to prevent any threat coming out from Gaza, yet they fail time after time. And now, despite the fact that they're implementing the general's plan in the northern part of Gaza, that is there primarily to ethnically cleanse the population, more talks are coming from Israelis that, well, we're going to have to withdraw now for the third time from Jabalia, but this time with more and more losses. The Palestinian resistance has been escalating its attacks in a manner that cannot really be described as anything but miraculous. Nothing has remained really on top of the ground in North Gaza. Most of the buildings are destroyed. The healthcare system isn't functioning. The civil system, when it comes to civil services, nothing is functioning. Anyone remaining in North Gaza is facing either death or starvation. Yet the Palestinian resistance is starting to escalate further. For the past 10 days, there have been over 20 missile launches on Israel. The Palestinian resistance in North Gaza has been escalating when it comes to the ground attacks against Israel too. Now with 5 tanks being destroyed in Jabalia alongside the Palestinian resistance targeting an Apache helicopter with a SAM missile. Today, 4 armed groups in Gaza were active. Hamas's armed wing, the PIJ's armed wing, the Democratic Front for the Liberation of Palestine's armed wing, and a movement called the Brigades of Salah ad-Din. And these attacks came in the form of the attacks against the tanks, the helicopter, soldier gatherings, and launching missiles on Israel. Now, even if any Israeli is supporting what Israel is doing in North Gaza, well, they're going to have to question themselves. And now more military analysts in Israel are saying, how long can we remain there and what is the purpose? Senior analysts in Israel are saying we might find ourselves being stuck in situations like we had in 1982 in Lebanon, where we had over 18 years of bloodshed when it comes to the Israeli army and more losses. So everything is depending on Benjamin Netanyahu. They're talking about the ceasefire. Benjamin Netanyahu constantly tries to play as if he is interested at one point and then not interested in the other point, trying to put sticks in the wheels. But his movements are proving that, well, nothing is going to end anytime soon, despite the fact that there are serious talks. However, he's going to be faced with deadlines soon. The main deadline is going to come from Lebanon. Soon, the 60 days will be over and Israel will have to withdraw. More threats are coming from Lebanon that the day after the 60th day, although Israel is trying to extend this to 90 days now, but from the Lebanese side, they're saying that everything will explode on the 61st day because we've given you that time. We agreed that the Israeli genocide forces will withdraw from Lebanon within 60 days. And if you don't, well, we're not bound by this agreement. The American mediators are trying to de-escalate, with Amos Hochstein visiting the area again now, trying to come up with this new formula to either extend the Israeli presence on Lebanese territories or try and push the Israelis out. So far, it doesn't look like Benjamin Netanyahu wants to withdraw, and that will undoubtedly lead to an escalation from the Lebanese resistance. Because despite all of the talks about the Lebanese resistance being weakened, the fact of the matter is, on the final day before the ceasefire came to effect, the Lebanese resistance carried out the biggest strike against Israel, and Israel did not have an answer and could not stop any of the attacks when it comes to the Lebanese resistance. And now Ansarullah are also continuing to attack. They landed a missile on an area called Mudi'in in the occupied territories, and Israel couldn't hide it this time.
Einstein! Nefila, 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 Nefila. Nefila, Nefila. Nefila là, maman! Là! 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 Maman, viens!
Now, despite all of the warnings coming against Ansarullah, nothing is stopping these people. And they said multiple times that our attacks against Israel will not stop until the genocide stops and the siege is lifted against Gaza. Another major player here, Iran, is conducting military drills. They've conducted some of their biggest war games in the western area of Iran, and they're preparing themselves. They called it the Great Prophet. These war games are intended to prepare Iran when it comes to rapid reaction situations and also increase their missile and strategic capabilities. There was another report about the Iranian foreign minister and the situation when it comes to Israel, saying that Iran is prepared for further conflict with Israel. However, they remain committed to a diplomatic solution, including relying on the Chinese to try and de-escalate. And the Iranian foreign minister seemed hopeful that reason will eventually prevail and things will de-escalate with the participation of countries like China. Although he said if Israel does attack Iran, before, again, the pending response of Iran that we haven't seen yet, everything in the region will go up in flames. Does that mean Iran is having an indirect threat when it comes to Israel, that this time, if Israel indeed attacks Iran again now, they won't stop attacking them, or it won't just be a response coming from Iran similar to the previous limited responses that they had? That's not very clear. However, what is clear is that Iran is trying to de-escalate and indeed give an opportunity or a window for all of the ceasefire that's been happening and that Israel is still breaching, even when it comes to Lebanon. The bigger test will be towards the end of the month, when the 60th day will come and Israel will have to make a decision whether they remain or whether they withdraw from Lebanon. And that also depends on the level of response coming from Hezbollah. So far, Hezbollah tried to be very contained. They tried to keep this ceasefire for as long as possible. However, they were criticized for it. And on the 61st day, if they don't have a very aggressive response when it comes to Israel, if they choose to remain in Lebanon, there's going to be a bigger problem for Hezbollah. And again, that's unlikely that there will not be an answer coming from Hezbollah after the 60 days end when it comes to the ceasefire in Lebanon, and Israel's ultimatum will expire. They would have to withdraw at the time. The final thing that I wanted to talk to you about, Israel relies heavily on its air force for multiple reasons. Some of them are known, some of them are not very known. One of the Israeli senior military figures, who is a retired Major General Yitzhak Brik, is criticizing the Israeli reliance on its air force. He had this article in one of the Israeli newspapers saying again and again, the Air Force deprives us of what is needed to defend the country. The argument that's coming from Major General Yitzhak Brik in this article is that, well, we shouldn't really be relying that much on Air Force. For example, in Yemen, why don't we have ballistic missiles to launch at Yemen? We had previous proposals to have and develop strategic missiles that we can launch at Yemen without the cost of having a fighter jet costing 80 or 100 million US dollars, with a person, a pilot on it, with all of that risk. And again, having an ineffective attack at the end of the day that we can do with a missile. Why are we not doing this? This is taking us back. We need to have strategic missiles. Now, many believe that Israel's reliance on its fighter jets and air force is coming from the relation with the United States of America and the fact that, well, the United States sends them aid and they can afford air force, and air force is a little bit more superior when it comes to attacking other countries. However, what's happening now and the confrontations we're seeing are proving that the Air Force actually doesn't have an edge in every case, in every scenario, especially when countries have solid air defense systems. But what people are not really talking about is the fact that when it comes to the fighter jets from Israel and the aid that they're getting from the United States, that is conditional to buy parts from the United States and fighter jets from the United States. Much of these fighter jets, like Yitzhak Brik said in his article, would arrive to Israel within 5 to 10 years, and they probably wouldn't be relevant for the field, is again the military-industrial complex in the United States making money. And the argument that's coming from Brik in this article is saying that if we continue down this path, and not only that, we won't really be succeeding on the battleground and the battlefield and won't necessarily achieve our objectives. No, it's far worse than that. The most significant part of his article was the last statement that he had, the last paragraph where he said, the continued depraved conduct of the political and military echelons, which are irresponsible and lack foresight, will bring the state of Israel down a path from which there is no return. Without the ability to defend itself within a few years, the current leadership at the political and military echelons does not fully understand the emerging security reality in the Middle East and is leading the people of Israel towards a downward spiral. And without its immediate replacement, we will not be able to survive in the Middle East. There will be no resurrection for the people of Israel with such leadership, and those who have not yet understood this will understand when it is too late to fix.